Good morning, and welcome back. I am grateful to be here myself. Not because I had a near-death experience or anything. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I'm probably the only one in the room. I have noticed that the last few recordings have not been watched. You know, I've probably satiated the very few people that are actually watching. And I have no mechanism to get any more people in, and I'm not even completely sure I want more people in the room yet. But I'm going to want people in the room at some point. When I get really good at this, I'm going to want people in the room listening to this, getting inspired, you know, contributing to the conversation, all that kind of stuff. Until then, I guess the whole point of this is I am here by myself, and I am learning how to do this. What am I doing, you ask? What is this show? The show is Who Am I? Who am I? It's just a little thing that I do as I question who I am. But it's not just that, because I start with some information. We all have information to start with. Even our physical minds have information. But, you know, our non-physical minds have all the information, obviously. Is that obvious? Is that obvious? It all depends on whether you're a fan of the show. Because if you are a fan of the show, you know where I'm going with all of this stuff. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy? For two practical reasons do we ask this question. Now, we don't really just do it for practical reasons. We do it because, for some reason, it feels good to me to just have found a place where I can just let go of the drag of the physicality around me and go flying. Go just a non-resisted thought is what it is. Just flying in an arena of possibility where you well, it's fun for me, but I suspect that there is purpose behind it. I think my inner being is wanting to express herself. She is wanting us to express ourselves together, to demonstrate what it looks like when the two of us are in perfect tandem. Now, I'm not good at this necessarily. I'm just beginning. But what is it that I'm really doing as I do this show? Who am I? I ask this question to myself. I demonstrate a certain thing outward. I think it's going to be interesting for others looking back to go through these archives and put it all together, because I don't know, something's going to come of it. I don't know what. In any case, who am I? Who am I in reference to source energy and the two practical purposes? I already said that I do it because I want to, and I'm driven to do it for some reason. But I think the two practical purposes, the two practical ends that I would like to see. Now, I'm sitting here all by myself in a room talking to myself. So you wonder to yourself, well, wouldn't she do better if she'd get out there and like move this conversation along? Yes, that's true. Number one, this recording is a way of moving along an expanded conversation. The second thing is this format is where I get good at this, so that when I finally walk out into the world and talk with real people besides my own family, there are people around me who absolutely have heard this, who absolutely have heard this in this same kind of spirit. You know, sort of a coaching / musing, stance that I take. But there's only just a couple people who real people. I try to keep my coaching of the outside world down to a minimum unless I hear anybody actually asking. If they aren't asking, they don't want to hear it. So don't just go volunteer. Hey, I know how to help you, and I know how to fix all your problems. Really? No, if they aren't asking, you can't answer. But also, I try to keep a low profile because I'm really not ready to become physical yet. I am still sort of hiding in the shadows, crouching in behind the bushes until I really have myself in order, so that when everything that I click with in the outside world from that moment will be in order. I am tired of taking my life out of order. What does she mean by that? Well, actually, I just threw that in. Alignment, your alignment to the world, in a way, is a question of order. It's a question of what goes when. You know, are you out of order or are you in order? And I mean, like, are you out of sequence or are you in sequence? That kind of thing. Are you taking your, even if you are out of alignment, the impulses you get from your softer self are still completely correct. You just may be taking the impulses out of order of what the blessed, peaceful, flowing, synchronistic, harmonistic, in step with all of the rest of the parts order. So anyway, I'm in here all by myself, and so if it sounds sometimes like I also have an awareness of being in here by myself, which I don't do as well. Occasionally, if a human being allows me to go through my thing in front of them, it helps me mightily. I would so love to have someone who is bright, eager to know, credulous in their stance, like ready to hear something, standing in front of me saying, please, would you please tell me exactly what part of the picture I'm missing? Just tell me that little missing part, and then I will go off by myself and add that in to everything else I know and come up with my allness. Oh my gosh, what I would give to have someone stand in front of me and ask me that. And the reason that I want that is not because, then I will have changed this bright mind and they will go on and change the world. Not necessarily, although that would be lovely if that happened. The real value to me is when someone allows me to do that in front of them, to put my house in order right in front of them with their eager mind, really wanting the order that I'm trying to find within myself. Then the order comes, it flows from me way more naturally. And all of a sudden, the whole picture just spills out in a real clear, succinct, this is how your presentation goes, is what is summoned. That's why I would really, really, really love to have someone, a physical person, someone stand in front of me and ask me those questions. But, one of my problems is I am a hermit. And so I don't mix it with the rest of the group quite as much. So the opportunities are less. And so I have to be in more perfect attunement for how the universe is going to try to give me what it's going to try to give me. Was it last week? It was last week, maybe 10 days ago, possibly 2 weeks ago. Maybe as little as a week ago. I can't remember. But I had a moment where for the very first time, it just kind of came up naturally. I didn't summon him into the room and say, "Here, this I'm gonna try this out on you." It was just we were sitting there talking, and he's sitting in my chair, and I just started showing him what was on my studio here with all of my slides. If you are a fan of the show, you know all the slides, the ones that I go through as the different topics come up. And I just started at the beginning, and I said, "This is what I have." And this is what I talk about when this slide comes up, and then this part of the program is da 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 da, and I'm ba 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 ba, and in like 10 minutes, I sort of just briefly covered, and this is everything that I got, and then I went through all these slides, these ones that I got up right now. The one I have up right now is just the scapes, all of the scapes. We got the full moon flowers, Moonscape 2. I don't know why it's Moonscape 2. I probably deleted Moonscape 1. Pond Moon Night. Moonscape 3. All church. AI Church Moon. Girl Sea Moon. This is my favorite one, actually. I used it yesterday, I think. No, day before yesterday. And I told why I like it. This one is a new one. I like this one a lot. Golden Girl Moon. This one, Girl Book Fireflies. This one is a beautiful one. These are good for me when especially since the show is called Who Am I? This one causes me to cross-identify with myself as a girl. You know, I was a brunette, so that helps. It's not a little blonde girl that I have a harder time identifying with. And me identifying with a particular time in my life. It's a time that's really very developmentally significant. You hold on to certain identities forevermore. It's not like, I don't have a sense of myself at 50. Or 40 or something that I just cling to with sentimental attachment. With some sort of pensive, idealism. But you do of yourself when you were a teenager. So who am I? Isn't that the question of the morning? Who am I? And the reference is source energy, and the reason that we ask this is twofold. The first one is we need to get off fossil fuels. We absolutely need to get off fossil fuels. Now I'm sitting here in a room by myself telling us that we need to get off of fossil fuels. Now, to be fair, I am also recording this, and so there is a hope that ears will hear it, even though there are none in the room with me. Save my own. We need to get off of fossil fuels, and that's not news. Everybody knows we need to get off fossil fuels. What maybe they don't know is that we can. We have been taught to believe that we cannot. And all efforts to turn us away from fossil fuels have been brutally... It's not a natural... What's the word? It's not a natural environment. It's a fixed paradigm. It's an artificial paradigm. We are living in a construct. We are living in a constructed paradigm that is being pushed in front of us because we are sheeple. And I don't mean to say that, really, because I think the world of us. And this whole discussion for the next another hour and 15 minutes or so is all going to be in service of how fabulous I think we are, how capable I think we are of getting through this. We're going to talk for at least some moments about how capable the the quantum field is that we are swimming in, the reality making machine, the becoming and begoing, the becoming and the becoming machine that we abide in, how capable it is of handling our issues. As I speak, as I think, as I feel, it strikes me how much like God what we're going to be talking about is, but we're not really going to be talking about it in those terms. The closest I get to it is the term Almighty. I do say the Almighty, and I do like that one because it sort of connotes the same concept, while at the same time I believe is more vibrationally correct and less vibrationally ambiguous than the G word, which most people have all messed up because of preconceived notions that they have in their head already, predefined ways that they have already. But know that whatever this is that I'm talking about in some way tangentially brushes wherever you have put your G word. I am talking about that. It is the power of the allness to organize us all, because we are all one thing. That's what I mean when I say there is only one of us here. And ultimately that is true. Now, there are layers and layers and layers of other things that are true also. I also am divinely individual. And I am controlled by nothing outside of myself other than this allness that encases us all. So I am bound by that. And I am bound by the higher orders of motion in the greater field around me. As in, I am bound by the fact that I am standing on a planet who is a bigger field of information, and that planet is spinning around a sun, which is spinning around a galaxy, which is spinning around a cluster, around a supercluster, toroidally circulating around a universe, no doubt. I cannot overcome these things. I need to flow with these things. And then, you get smaller and smaller until you get down to where I am on the grid, my physical self. And then that self has a certain field of information and flow around me that I, my physical small self, am now there. That's my field, where I am responsible for a life. I am a physical being in a physical universe. However, I'm not. Because what I really am, it just looks like I'm a physical being in a physical universe, because I'm not a physical being in a physical universe. But I am a singular being in a collective universe. How about that? Is that what it is? Because there is something very important about our divine autonomy. You really are creating your own universe from that autonomous center, that one center that you own. You own that particular center. However, it's in turn bound by a center of a bigger center. And I think ultimately we all come from a single singularity. We are all spinning forth out of the same single spin, somehow mysteriously. Some of what I say is mysteriously so, and other parts of it I can even point to the mathematics of how it's so. And some of it is more mysteriously so. I sort of put it in my brain in a place, it fits in with everything, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure how we all spin out of the same point. But we do. And because we do, we all share one point. And this point that we share, first of all, it's where all the information is. It is that reverberating, that plonk point where everything is touching, where all of the information is. We do share that one point. And from that shared point, it means that I don't have to physically go anywhere in order to be sitting here with everything. Everything is here with me at all times. How is that? It's mysteriously so. I don't know. I'm going to be talking to you in an odd mix of both mysterious and magical and wondrous and inspired and feeling like it's more like it's I don't know. Some of it's going to feel almost religiously inspired as I speak of our oneness. There's only one of us here, and there is no us and them, and, there's nothing but, and we are liquid love. And, and then sometimes I'm going to sound more like sort of, a dry mathematical physics professor or whatever talking about. But actually, sometimes I'm going to be just kind of me and a bit sleepy because it is early in the morning. One of the reasons I do it is I have less resistance at this time of day. And in some ways it helps that there is no one in the room. Because other people always bring practical drag in. They always, if I say something about where we are headed, where our vortex actually opens up into, what the future of humanity actually looks like, what's the last hurdle we have to get past before we then just embrace how this goes, before we give in and say, you know what, I need to be humble now. Who am I? I am a Nazi. I am Jesus Christ. I am Joan of Arc. I am Nikola Tesla. I am Albert Einstein. I am tiny little me, not going to say my name, 21st century, American nobody. I am huge. I am tiny. I am important. We all are important. Every single one of us is. Anyway, if I said something, like, this is where we're going, somebody would always say, yeah, but people will never do it because they're greedy and they're... What I'm saying is people always bring in the practical. They always drag into the conversation where we are. I don't frickin' care where we are. The conversation that I'm having, in a way, almost doesn't even matter where we are. That's why it really doesn't even matter that I don't watch the news. I try to inject some news sometimes just so that I will be sufficiently aware of the fact that things really are moving. We are barreling down we are a juggernaut of I don't know what, and I'm not sure what's going to end up at the end of this. Because in a way it doesn't matter who wins, because if one of them wins, then we still have the same out of alignment paradigm with all of the same fat cats only owning all of the same monopolistic structures. It's not a single... We got lost in the fact that there is not a single monopoly. It's like a big polyopoly, but it's the same structure supporting few. Now, it would be all right if this same structure would appear and it was in alignment with the rest of the field. But it's not in alignment with the rest of the field, and it's taking the rest of us down with it. The fact that it is all structured around unsustainable, unsupportable, ignorant technologies I say too much, but it's because I have to pause and reach for the thought that the vibration is reach for the word that the vibration is pointing to. And sometimes it's not immediately apparent. So the problem is that we're plugged into fossil fuels. And that being plugged into fossil fuels is leading to a constructed paradigm that doesn't need to be, first of all, that naturally we have tried to move away from a jillion times, in small ways, incremental ways, the way that it goes. Next logical step, and little by little, and with one brilliant thought after another. But we have been stopped from doing this by greedy, bad, rich people. That's true. That is true. But they are not bad, and they are us also. There is only one of us here. And it is very important that you keep hold of this viewpoint as you observe the whole situation. Because honestly, first of all, the things I could tell you, probably the things you could tell me, but the things I could tell you, and I have to go from that point because I'm me, the things I could tell you make your hair curl. The outrage that you would feel. When I was younger, in my 20s, I had some fairly broad-based, but it was good evidence of where the AIDS virus had come from. And it had come from come out of a lab because of the way we do animal testing, because of our vivisection practices, because of our stupidity in the arena of who am I medically, who am I as a physical body, and what equals health, and what are we ethically even allowed to do to keep ourselves healthy. And since we really shouldn't be doing some of the things that we do, the unethical nature of it, actually, there's reasons for unethical beliefs, for us believing that some things are unethical. It's because they're unwise, because there's reasons why we disapprove of incest, for instance. Now, one thing, it really messes with the psyche of the human being, as far as knowing where different archetypes fall in their existence. And so incest for that reason, but even if it's like cousins that you don't know, that psychologically it wouldn't have messed you up, but you don't want to be messing with genes too close to your pool, because you never ever want genetic defects to be coming out in the species, because it's so sad when that happens. You really don't want that. We've decided we don't want that. But I can't remember why I started down that convoluted path. I do know that the reason that we can't, I don't think that we should go off half-cocked in outrage, light our torches, and go storm the doors of the aristocrats, dust off the guillotines and kill those responsible for this outrage that has occurred. But it is an outrage. It is an outrage. Actually, if the beings back in at the time of the French Revolution had been wiser, you know what? If the peasants had been wiser in their approach, I bet the aristocrats would still have been meaner. Let them eat cake. I don't know. The point of that all is the consciousness was not there at the time. The consciousness is barely here now. The reason the consciousness can be here now is we have percolated in ourselves for enough years There is, all the information is out there. Everything, it's all laying scattered at our feet. All of the information, all of history, all of the accounts of history, all of the secrets of all of the gurus. East has met West. All the religions have merged and mixed. Have they really? Well, they could within you. All of the information is there. You could put it within yourself and what I used to say when I was very young, it's like, oh my God, we have all the information. Everybody's just forgotten what the questions are. They really have. And what I believe the question really is who am I? Which is why I sit here and I ask this question and I speak to myself for an hour and a half every morning. It's my favorite topic ever. It might come to us lighting our hair on fire, lighting the torches, and but I don't think it should come to that. It really should not come to that, because there is only one of us here. And I think we have come to a level of sophistication and civilization that we could all collectively recognize who and what we all really are. We are cells in a larger organism. The larger organism that we are is humanity. Humanity is this superorganism that is existing, that existeth upon the planet. And we need to get it into alignment with the field of biology around us. We need to get into what's the word? Coherence, alignment. Alignment with what? Alignment with source energy. What the hell is source energy? I think source energy is, drumroll please, the pull of the shared point. That's what I think it is. The knowingness that we are all one. That shared point is where all of our divinely individuated, separate universes come together to form a super universe that we are all a part of. That we are all one with. We are not just I'm all part of it. We are one with. It is a single organism that is alive. And we are all part of it. And we are all creatively, coordinately co-creating with it. And our desires is its desires. And the whole idea is we just want to get our desires into alignment with the rest of the field. Know that the paradigm is win, 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 win. So all of you crazy ass people out there fighting with the world, battling the world, operating on what you think is a win-lose paradigm. You're the one making it win-lose. And you're creating all the losers, and I wish you'd stop it. It's win-win. Win, 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 win. Now, I just wish that you'd stop it. Because frankly, if I operate from within my own universe correctly and powerfully and autonomously and from within, not concerned with what it looks like on the outside from any direction, do I ever need to check myself by, like looking out and seeing whether anybody thinks I'm crazy? Maybe. But don't be alarmed if people do think you're crazy, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. Somewhere along the way, you have to be brave enough to be a little bit crazy, to be yourself, to be that little extra part of yourself that your physical mind doesn't quite control, Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So who am I? That's the question of the morning, isn't it? And I believe that we would all be free to dance with this question joyfully and powerfully for a very long time. If we would get the F off fossil fuels, why are we not off fossil fuels? Because those who own the fossil fuels have had a vested interest in making sure that we believed that we had to stay here. Now, we have allowed our need for fuel to get very, very high before we get to the point where we're like, hey, wait a minute, do we need to do this? Because there were incremental ideas, many, many, many of them. And this brings me to my first change of slide. But let me finish my thought before I actually change the slide. There have been many, many, many ideas going back over the last more than 100 years. Actually, probably more than 125 years now. I don't know that the suppression has gone back that far. Well, if you start with J.P. Morgan and the way he shut down Nikola Tesla, then the suppression goes back to the 19th century. When J.P. Morgan realized that Tesla was trying to develop what he was thinking about, what his idea was even. He yanked his financing because he didn't want Tesla to come up with an idea, a tower that would broadcast a frequency that everybody could, their technology, whatever, like their toasters or stuff, instead of plugging it into a wall, you'd just tune it into a frequency like a radio station. Tune that frequency in, and then it just runs. Then your toaster would just run, just as though you had plugged it into a wall. What? That means you don't have to have wires. You don't have to have a grid. You don't have to have a what are those other things called? The way station, the ones that like in the olden days it used to, the transforming stations. You don't have to have any of that stuff. You don't have to have the hard infrastructure. Why would you want to have the hard infrastructure? Because somebody owns the hard infrastructure, and then they own the power, and then they have the, nobody is even talking like a rebel anymore, like a revolutionary in the proper way, The people who stormed our Capitol on January 6th, those are the ones that are talking like revolutionaries, and those ones are talking like the French revolutionaries. Those are the guys who are going to bring out the guillotines. Are we going to let it get to that? We are just one organism here, people. And what's happening is the systems that we have created are not covering everybody. They're not meeting everybody's needs, and the lack and the unfairness, and the people get frightened when they can't feed their children. People get frightened when immigrants are banging at the southern doorway, and we desperately want to protect our identity, who we have been, the white grandma and apple pie and 4th of July and, state fair and I don't know. There's a cultural identity that we have that we're frightened to let go, and we really don't understand how to integrate ourselves as a single organism, as a single identity. One of the reasons that we have been unsuccessful, I think, previously is that our attempts to be one entity have been going from the outside in lockstep and groupthink with formulas based on law and paradigms that, somebody writes up the rules, we all sign off on them, agree on them, and then we go about our business and enforce it by way of law and force and enforce. We should never enforce the paradigm that we are going to set up that will reveal to us our collective vortex of creation, our fabulous vortex of fabulous creation, all of the mix of all of the things that we have asked for, everything from peace and abundance, freedom, clarity, efficiency, friendship, peace on earth, of naturally working ecosystems, efficiency of communications, fairness, equality, of order, ecosystems restored back to the and individuation all over the planet restored. All of that, that's all in our vortex, but it's going to come from us, not us agreeing to a rule on the outside and enforcing it by way of law. That is never going to work. We are passing the time of the law and we are moving into the time of the Spirit. This is analogous to the time of the coming of Christ, when the New Testament was so. My mother used to explain this one to me. This one thing she understood. It's a spirit thing that you understand in your heart. A definition you recognize. Oh, I get what you're saying. So she would say the Old Testament, that was the time of the law. And the Old Testament is just a recounting and recording of all of the time of the law. When, these were the laws and these were the people that followed the laws and these were the things that happened and these were the kings and these were the kingdoms and blah, 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 blah. And this was the time of the law. And the significance of the New Testament and the coming of Jesus Christ, the whole point of all of that was the time of the law. And this is the time of the Spirit, where he came into the equation and explained to everybody how the frequencies worked. This is the importance of peace and love, people. And this is the power of peace and love. To coordinate and, not assimilate, that's the wrong word. Synergize. I'm going to start just making up my own words here now. With the field around. This is the power of, because this is the power of the allness that is operating in the field around you. There is an allness factor. We are one thing. We are one being. And there's lots of different levels where this, where the information fields, where the morphogenetic information fields cut off, you could say. There's the biofield of the whole planet, all of the biology of the whole planet. There's actually smaller ones. There is the morphogenetic field, the biofield of humanity. We are a single morphogenetic field. We are one being. And then you can go smaller than that. I am my nation. I am my state, my city, my neighborhood, my family, my work, my co-workers, my whatever. There's all kinds of smaller fields but they do all tag back into the greater biological fields that you're looking at. And then it goes all the way to the universe, which is the Almighty, the oneness that we all are, and this love that we all share, this liquid love that we all are, is the share of this one point, the pull of the shared point, the one thing that connects us all. I believe that this shared point between us, the singularity that we all spring forth from, I think it's gravity too. I think it is gravity. It's this feeling, the feeling from inside what the structure of the universe actually is. And there is both this divine oneness that we are all part of, this single point that we all spring forth from, that we all share, that is the way that God is, oh, did I use the G word? That the Almighty is organizing us through. Because that's how Source knows where everything is and how it's moving. Because it's all spinning. And Source is at the point where all the spins come out of. And so, and it knows what speed and the frequency of all of the spins coming out of it. That's how it knows where everything is that you want to rendezvous with. How could you rendezvous with it? Because it's all in motion. It's like spinning plates. Only God can spin an infinite number of plates. God is spinning all of our plates. And I was gonna bring up this. This is my links list. It's over in the description of my video. Go check out all the links I put in here. There's probably a better place to put these. If I ever spoke to another human being, they would tell me, this is how to actually do this. Put a link in. I could probably embed each link correctly within my video as I speak about it, and boom, it would come up. But see, I don't talk to anybody, so there is no technological person that is helping me with this, and so I just bumble through. But this is in the description of my video, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. That is the documentary documenting over Unity devices, these incremental good ideas that could have gotten us away from fossil fuels. And yet somehow the paradigm is out there pretending like there is no possible way. But there's been all kinds of great ideas. Everything from, slightly modifying existing internal combustion engines so that they can run on mostly water with just a little bit of gas or oil to keep the engine from seizing up. That idea was deep sixed. Or an engine a vastly different kind of engine that runs on straight water. Why are we still talking about hydrogen and dangerous? Why are we talking about anything that involves massive centralized power systems of any sort when there have been all these great ideas that could have little by little gotten us off of fossil fuels and still could? But they need to be the doorway to understanding, the doorway to belief, the doorway to your knowledge that these things have existed, and that there is a cadre of human beings out there who are still trying to keep it secret. It is possible that if my little show ever got really, really, really popular, that somebody would kill me and take all my videos and make sure that nobody ever saw the light of this. It's possible. I think I'm actually starting to speak at a time when the information is open source. And so it's like the genie's out of the bottle. It's going to be very, very hard to keep this information down. Now, one of the reasons why they would shut me down is if for some reason they noticed that people were really listening to me, It is possible that somebody would still want, but nobody wants to shut me down. What do I have, 1 or 2 listeners every day? Practically nothing. But I'm getting better at speaking. And by the time I'm really good at speaking, I'm hoping that I'm not the only one speaking and that we're not being murdered at that point. That it's just a question of, because I'm really not pushing back against anybody. That's another thing. My position is not going to cause a lot of ripples because I push back against no one. My position is actually not to light my hair on fire and get you all worked up in outrage at how, our true birthright has been stolen from us. That's not actually my position. It's true. Our birthright has been stolen from us, and there has been a cadre of, that's the second time you shouldn't use a really unusual word very often, or certainly not in quick succession, because people will notice. There certainly is a conspiracy of individuals who have actively been conspiring to keep us on fossil fuels. That is true. But the answer to the problem is not to push back against them. They are just human beings, and we are all one being. And there is a point where where all of our desires meet. All of our needs can be met. There is a win-win-win-win-win-win position. Their abundance, their billion-dollar yachts, I admire them. I just don't want them to have the power over either me or the world, ultimately having control of the guns and the militaries and stuff. I don't like that the rich people can own the senators and own the presidents who have their fingers on the buttons of power and all of that stuff. It's not a good system. We need to decentralize this whole thing. But the way to do it is not to push back directly against it in resistance. Don't resist it. What you do is you realize, you up your own consciousness, you up your own awareness of who we actually are and where we're actually going. And you just start moving in the direction of where you want to go. And the other thing will just kind of fall away. It's my example that I say every day, and I feel like I can say it every day because nobody's listening. So any one of these episodes, if anybody goes and picks it up, I want it to contain most of all of the information. So I don't care if I say things more than once, but it's just like if you're poised in the moment between horses and buggies and cars, and you believe in cars and you want to see cars come into the world, you don't go protesting against horses and buggies. There's nothing wrong with horses and buggies, and they're just there because we didn't know how to make cars. Sometimes you still want a good horse and buggy anyway. So if you're listening to this, you may not know this, but my husband, he's retired now. He doesn't do anything for a living. He just gets his military retirement and then 401k or whatever. But while he was working, he launched rockets into outer space. And now my position, my actual position on this, and there's nobody to say this to, and I don't make a big deal out of it, and I don't know how you can even see that this is my position, except for I'm going to tell you on this tape. I absolutely do not believe in fossil fuel-based rocketry anymore. I think that it is smoke and mirrors, that actually the true technology, the true high-level technology that what you might call the United States, I don't know if it is the United States. It might be more like a Dr. Evil sort of situation with, the autocrat at the top and then the oligarchs around supporting him in his, structure of whatever. We seem to do that. Whatever it is you call it, whether you call it the king and all of his court, or whether you call it the emperor and all of the, whatevers, it always seems to vibrationally pan out into the same kind of thing, doesn't it? Human beings are very interesting. We seem to go for that hierarchy of order. That's interesting. Anyway, I seem to have gotten lost. I realized that I started giving you this list of what are my links in the description of this video, and I lost focus and quit describing it. So the second thing here, we got the origin of mass and nature of gravity. It's the 37-minute YouTube video that describes the paper that there's a link to it later down the way, the origin of mass and nature of gravity paper listed farther down. Then we have Quantum Revolution, the first episode of Nassim's wonderful series describing in layman's descriptive terms how he has mathematically unified the quantum field and the cosmological field. It actually happens in kind of an unexpected way. I may describe it right after I finish this list. Maybe. We'll see if I can keep my focus. I'm just practicing keeping my focus. That's another thing that I am doing on this show. It's for me. It's for me. It's me, R&D, me working with myself, solidifying those neural pathways between these concepts so that I can move freely between these concepts from all kinds of different directions. I have to do that because there was no structure in my brain to support the connection between all of these things. And so that's what this show is for me. It sure isn't for the mass audience out there. So that should free me, actually. And I don't want to come public too good too soon. I don't want to be murdered. Actually, I'm not sure if I would be murdered now. The guy who does the movie Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, I think the guy behind it, for the most part, his last name is Greer. He's the guy who is speaking in the seminar and stuff during a lot of it, narrating a lot of it. I don't think anybody's trying to murder him. And he went and made this movie. But now he isn't trying to make money on the movie. He's open sourced it. He's thrown it out there on free platforms so that people know. Because we have to rise. Our consciousness has to rise to a level where we know that this is possible. Otherwise, they can keep pulling the wool over our eyes. They can keep selling us their noxious, dirty, nasty, carbon-based fossil burning fuels, killing our beloved Gaia, our beloved Eden, our beloved Earth, when we don't have to. When we don't have to, and we can still achieve a density of energy so that we can all, play with our technologies and continue to transport our bodies around the planet. There's probably a reason why a lot of things don't change instantaneously, because if we instantaneously change to the kind of transportation technologies where we really are off the surface of the planet, then it's going to be very hard to enforce any borders. Because the places where the borders were geologically based, because it's that gorge or that river or whatever. But when you can just fly over the whole damn thing, who cares about the border? And as long as we're uptight about the way goods are being moved around, and we got to maintain sovereignty of nation states, we don't need any of this. We don't need any of this. We can scatter back to the individual and let every individual call their way. But first we got to get to the place where we are peace on earth. Peace on earth. We've got to understand that we are one being here. We are one being in total. Now, I lost my focus again. Let's get back to what's on this. The links that are located in the description of my video. So now we have The Connected Universe. That's the movie. It was made in 2016, narrated by Patrick Stewart. Love Patrick Stewart. It's about Nassim Haramein and his the way he has unified quantum physics and cosmological physics. You might say, I haven't heard that that's been unified. It's because conventional physics hasn't acknowledged it. But it's true. It has been. I can hardly wait to explain to you how it, because it's me taking a run at trying to explain it. I'm not sure how successful it will be, me explaining it, but then the next thing is a new one that I have added. It's living in the future's past. It's not, it certainly hasn't added everything in, but it speaks about us in certain ways that are interesting to contemplate. We are a superorganism. We are acting like a superorganism. And up to this point, we are made of oil. Now, they are not acknowledging the fact that we shouldn't be made of oil. The oil should be falling away from us. Incrementally, it could have been. Watch The Lost Century, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Then I put in butterfly dreaming just because I like that. Read that article, and you might know why I put it in. The origin of mass and the nature of gravity paper. Then the Whirling Dervishes, and I put that one in there because it is all spin. Everything is spin, and that's why the dervishes whirl. It's just the coolest thing. When you realize this in your heart, when your head and your heart and your expansive self recognize what it is you're looking at when you look at the world, you're like, holy God, I cannot believe what I'm looking at. It's true. Everything is spin. And your dose of source energy that you get every day, your allotment, your allowance, it's not your allowance, because if you can handle more, source will give you more. But there is a certain amount that your quota, you have to process at least this much. It keeps coming at you. What it is it's actually spin. It's all of God's plates spinning, and that spin is coming at you. You can either take it with a light heart, or you can take it with a heavy heart. You can take it with judgment. You can take it with joy. How you take this dose of source energy coming at you is all up to you. We're just here asking the questions. Who am I? And who am I indeed? Who am I indeed? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Why am I designed the way am I designed? And how am I designed? How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? And where am I? And where do I want to be? Well, I'll tell you where I think I am. I'm sitting here in the 21st century in a very comfortable life, by the way. A very comfortable life. Having a good time with life, actually. I am able to book trips, on airplanes. We can go to foreign countries, and we just did that earlier this year. We've been to 2 foreign countries already, 3 foreign countries. We went to Fiji and New Zealand earlier this year, and then just a few weeks ago we came back from a week in Mexico. We're going in a couple of weeks. We're heading to Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine for a little. I have an eye doctor's appointment, and then we're just going to take advantage of being there. And, look around while we're there. Eat some lobster. See how other people live. It's all very fun. People love to do that. Then we get to come home. I live in a good life. But, collectively, my whole species is killing the planet that we all depend on. And mad people within us are imagining that we're going to build rocket ships and escape to Mars, where even less is alive, thank you very much, and build some sort of artificial whatever, and, we're going to build colonies other places. because we can't make it here. Well, I'm sorry. If we can't make it here, people, we're not going to make it anywhere else either, because we got to understand the lessons that the field is trying to tell us here. That the matrix is trying to tell us here. If we don't understand it here, we're not making it on Mars. So stupid. I wish my chair didn't creak. I probably should have some kind of background noise so that as my chair creaks. I was noticing, watching Star Trek Next Generation, how the Klingons have a sound to them. They creak of leather. They have this sort of a creaking leather sound to them. Anyway, I certainly don't want to be putting off that sort of sound. I can change this slide now. Let me change this slide. It's not a very pretty slide. I don't know where I'm going either. I'll just go back to one of these. Who am I? Who am I? And where am I going? Oh, that's what I was just answering. Who am I and where am I? Where do I see myself? Well, I live a very comfortable life. I recognize that. I'm not ungrateful. And as a matter of fact, I spend an awful lot of my time noticing wonderful things about our lives and how things really are getting better for us individually. However, there is a collective thing that's happening that I believe it's happening because we're using fossil fuels. And I think that as soon as we get off of that, we can start because the natural biological field is equipped to create abundance. Even an abundance capable of feeding 10 billion hungry human beings. I think that way at least all kinds of abundance can be created with the biofield of humanity, of the world. We just need to quit killing it. So, and we're killing it by using fossil fuels. I believe as soon as we stop doing that, and the answer is not solar, and it is not wind, and it is not electric cars, and it's not any of those things. It's way, way simpler than that. How do I propose we get to where I'm suggesting we need to be? And that is off of fossil fuels. And ultimately, the big kahuna, the holy grail, is going to be source energy. But we don't have to get off of source energy directly. We can start with over-unity devices. Those devices that, there's all kinds of good ideas. There's ways to find, there are steady state frequencies going on out there that you can lock onto, and through the locking onto that steady state frequency, you can produce motion that runs things. In the Thrive 2 movie, there's a Thrive 1 and Thrive 2 that was made by the Proctors, or is it the Gambles? Excuse me, it's the Gambles. They left their family, their big industrialist, probably billionaire family, and they did their own thing. They made their own 2 movies, and they were trying to pull a big sum of concepts together under one roof. They were trying to do that. And to some extent, I recognize they kind of did it in some ways. That I think they did some overreach, and I think they went into negative spaces and judgmental spaces that they really didn't need to. Some of the judgment needs to just kind of be understood. You can't actually push directly against. I don't think you can anyway. You just start feeding the outrage machine. You have to find a way to come at this from a pure positive direction, because that's what your inner being is doing. Your inner being is looking at this in a purely positive way. just don't even worry about looking at the problems with it. Focus on all of the right stuff about it, and you will pull it together into a blessed position. The bad stuff will fall away if you quit looking at it. What do I mean by all of this? Gosh, I just feel myself having just opened up 6 cans of worms that I don't have time to fully describe. Let's go back to one thing that I was going to try to describe. Since nobody listens, and nobody is listening to this show, I can do whatever I want to on it. So I'm going to make an attempt right here to do this. I'm going to attempt to describe to you how Nassim Haramein unified quantum and cosmological physics. So at the Planck density, matter and the density of the Plancks and what the mass that they create at that little center point, how interesting is this? I don't even know exactly how this works. Okay. I'm just going to assume that you know what I mean when I say the Planck density at the quantum level. And I'm not going to try to get lost in trying to explain to you what I mean by that. When you're looking at the Plancks within a proton, for instance, you're looking in the matter, you can see the Plancks in the proton, and how dense, what is the density of those Plancks at that level, at the quantum level? What is that density? It is 10 to the 93. It is really, 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 really dense. It's enormously dense. What is the density of the matter at the cosmological level? When you're looking at all the matter in the universe, all of the stuff that makes up all the planets and all the stars, relative to the space that they are all in. What is that density? That density is 10 to the minus 30. This is a huge level of difference. It is 127 levels of density different between what you're looking at those Plancks at the quantum level, and then the matter density scattered throughout the cosmological level. That's the vacuum, that is the density, that's the catastrophe at the heart of physics, the vacuum catastrophe. Is it called is that what it's called, the vacuum catastrophe? Why did I put the word vacuum in there? That is what is not reconciled between our understanding of quantum physics and our understanding of cosmological physics. That density thing between the two worlds is what is not reconciled. Well, get this. When you take a Planck, the size of a Planck and the density of a Planck at the quantum scale, at the 10 to the 93, that density, the size that it is at that density, if you took that Planck and blew it up to the size of the universe, you get all the right numbers. It's all the right density. The cosmological density works out to be the right density. When you take a Planck at the Planck density and increase it to the size of the universe, that 10 to the 93 turns into 10 to the minus 30. it's the right number. Actually, I'm not sure if it turns into 10 to the minus 30. What it might turn, because actually I don't think it does turn into the minus 30. The number that it turns into is the number that it would be with the dark matter and the dark energy added in. The dark matter and the dark energy is actually a fudge factor. It's just a number that's added in because the understanding of the connection between a Planck and a universe is not understood. It is what our universe is a Planck. A really, 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 really dense Planck that's been flung off from another universe in a different density. That Planck, that teeny weeny 10 to the 93 dense Planck flew off of that universe, hit this one, way less density, boom, Big Bang. Foaming universes, multiverse, the multiverse. And you can either look at it from the outside, in physicality, but that physicality isn't really as physical as you think that it is. The physical universe is actually mental. And it's all frequencies and it's all da 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 da. Anyway, who am I? I did manage to describe how a Planck is a universe. How Nassim unified those two things. The numbers really do work out. And by doing the numbers in this way, he was able to predict the radius of the proton ahead of conventional physics doing a test that actually ended up proving that the radius of a proton is 4% smaller than the conventional model had been predicting that it was. Nassim and all of his little math, the way he takes his Planck at the 10 to the 93 and blows it up to the size of the universe, and then, oh my gosh, it is the right number to explain the density and structure of our universe. So it's all just Planck spinning. Where am I? I'm at an hour and 17 minutes, and I haven't hardly discussed anything. I have not brought up the emotional guidance scale. If you're interested in that, maybe go look at it from another day. Or am I going to go through every slide? Supposedly, that was my intention. Every day, I would go through every one of my slides and describe these two levels of who am I. From practical positions, why do we discuss this? One is to get off fossil fuels, because I believe that our ceasing to kill the planet and our beginning to co-create more harmoniously with the rest of the biofield of the planet it's going to buy us a whole lot of time, for one thing. It's going to bring us to a place where we can, I just want to be sustainable. I don't know how to describe to you why I want to be sustainable. I just think that we should be sustainable. I'll be a lot happier when we are. And then the second one is you've got to understand your own emotional configuration so that you do no longer believe your negative mind. Your negative mind is not you, and your enemy's negative mind is not him. Only the love is real. The love is somehow this connection that we have with one another, the shared point, the win-win position. The paradigm is not win-lose. It is win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. And the answer is he who conquers all of the rest of them wins. It's he who figures out how to co-create cooperatively and harmoniously with the largest field of cooperative components wins. We need to change the description of the game. So am I going to do my slides? Because I believe that we were genetically modified. Go back and watch any of my other shows. I always talk about that. The neocortex is our physical mind's overview mind. You know, it creates our emotions. It was also created by a fusion in human chromosome number 2. And then I go show you where I know that human chromosome number 2 is fused. Now, I do not know how it was fused. You've got me there. I actually do not know how this was fused. It could have been done naturally, maybe. I don't think so, but it's possible. I don't know that it could not have been done. I suspect it could not have been done artificially, naturally. But I don't know that it could not have been done naturally. But I do know, to a relative degree of certainty, that it is a fused chromosome. And I know it because of this article published to the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's a peer-reviewed scientific journal where the disciplines of the different sciences publish their work to one another for review. If any peer disagrees with it, then they could publish their own paper refuting whatever and make their own fortune or their own name in the field. But as far as I know, no one has ever refuted this because I believe it's true. It is a fused chromosome. It's 2 lesser or different species. It's 2 ape chromosomes that fused together and gave rise to human chromosome number 2. It's right there in the abstract. What else do I usually go through? The emotional guidance scale. Your 2 minds, your source mind and your physical mind, your binary system. Who am I? How do I fly this damn starship of light through the cosmos of consciousness? What is this universe actually? What is it? I hear it is one thing that is the same thing, but the experiences that we have is just us viewing it from different angles. I've heard that. I find that an interesting concept. I don't want to get too esoteric. At certain points, I can pull the esoteric into this practical discussion as we discuss who am I and how this works and who are we as humanity, where are we going, where have we come from, how do we become successful. Well, I believe that for peace sake, we need to understand our negative emotions and quit buying into them. Quit buying into your negative emotions. Let go of your negative mind. It really is okay. It is okay. The whole project of life is okay. I think that there is as many. It's not just reincarnation. There is a plenitude of life. You can come back as many times as you want to, or as few times as you want to. You are choosing to come into this life. Nobody is forcing you. We're not forced to come into this world of pain and suffering and testing in order to prove that we are worthy to go to heaven and be with Jesus and God forevermore. It doesn't work that way. There is one project going on. It's called Project Life. And we are all joyfully a part of it. There is one being here playing with itself, playing hide and go seek, playing peekaboo right and left, playing forget and remember. It's okay It's okay. You're here to experience anything you want to experience. It's like that Star Trek episode. It was called Shore Leave. And it was in the first season of the original series, episode 16, called Shore Leave. And Kirk is getting all excited because they've come down to this planet, and every time they think of things, those things appear. And it's just like Abraham says, you get what you think about, whether you want it or not. And they'll think about things, and then almost immediately, there it is. You know, a knight kills Bones, kills Dr. McCoy, and everybody thinks that this is all really, really serious. Turns out Bones was dragged down below, repaired quickly, put back out on the surface of the planet, and he's okay, and everything's okay. And the point is, the analogy here is, life is okay. Go in and have your experiences. It's safe enough. Death is safe. Life is safe. Death is safe. Don't get so worked up about it. If we would all learn to focus more on what we want than on what we have that we don't like, which is the reason for what we want, if we would focus on what we want, we could bring about what we want quicker, because we're getting what we're looking at. It's all about your focus. Your success in life is all about your focus, period. Period, full stop. What are you focusing on? Whatever you're focusing on, that's what you're getting. So if you're focusing on all the things that you don't like, then that's what you're getting more of, the spirit of that. Let's see, what time is it? It's 8 minutes after 7, and it's coming up on an hour and a half. I did not finish the discussion today. I really didn't. I may have said some things that are new and more interesting for any regular listeners. You know, it's like, well, I don't need to hear the exact same program every day. Colleen, did not mean to say that. That's all right. Someday I'll go back and edit this out. And it doesn't even matter. Does it matter? You're going to know who this is. I don't want to be myself, though. I want to be my bigger self as I speak. I have slides like this. I never showed it. I see your specific, going specific is you putting on the gas. And you going general is you pulling back on the brakes. You know, pulling back, slowing down, get your bearings, and then find a way into the, because you don't want to go into the specific unless you're in the positive. Because whatever you're doing specifically, whatever. Go listen to one of my other ones. I need to end my show, and now I'm thinking, oh, do I need to quickly say everything I forgot? No, I don't. Let's wrap it up this way. Who am I? Where am I going? What am I made of? How do I drive this machinery, this HBV that I have been issued? Only you haven't been issued. You issued it to yourself. You came into this body. You did it on purpose. You did it by choice. If when you lay this body down, as you will, and you are not this body, you are wearing this body, know that there is a you behind this that is more than the body that you think that you are. When you lay this body down, if you want to come back into another body, you can, and you can make it better than the one that you were in before, without the cancer, you know, without the flaw, without the design flaws. You are the quantum field. You can become whatever you want. I heard a noise. It's a dog barking. I had to make sure it was not my husband getting up, getting ready to play golf, which he is going to do. And I'm going to go out and play him a game of cribbage, the very cornerstone of our harmonious married life is games. We play cribbage. I'm starting to play golf with him too. And we watch television together. And then we work on our little space together. And we travel together. For now, that's enough. He just retired, so we're trying to find our way. Are we going to find our way to satisfaction and health and satisfying life? Hopefully. I'm happy. I'm pretty happy. So, where are we going to leave it? I started to say something quite profound, and then I started talking about cribbage and golf. Hold on one second. All right, we're gonna end with this little guy. So who am I? Know that you are more than your physical body, and you are not being forced to be born into this life. You do it joyfully. You do it willingly. And when you lay this body down, you can decide, do I want to come back in again, or do I want to float with the angels for a minute? Do I want to, whatever. It's whatever you want. We live in a quantum field, a divine matrix that can become anything. It is Planck's spinning, and they can spin into anything. Have hope, have heart. Even your emotions have great meaning, and you can learn to navigate using your divinely granted emotional guidance system. Blah, 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 blah. All is well. What else do I want to say? I don't know. I hope I do a better job tomorrow. I did some good work this morning, but I didn't do the whole presentation. I did not explain who we are and where we're going and how this whole thing works. I need another person. I do. I need another person in the space for a minute to help me with this. Try to make a recording, see whether that turns out really well. I don't know. Maybe I'll see whether I can employ somebody's help. I also need to work on some new slides. I was thinking about this yesterday, and then I got company, and I had company all day, and so I didn't end up in my office working on such things. Maybe I'll do that today. Maybe I'll have some new slides tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a new show that I can offer you with a guest. We'll see if I can find myself one. In any case, until tomorrow, I love you, whoever you are. You are me. I am you. We are all in this together. And until we meet again, I bid you peace. I wish you well. And may the source be with you.